my name is Christy. I am Brad's daughter's mother. Um, Brad was my best friend. He was my hero. He was everything to me. Um, and yeah, I've known Brad since he was about 4 years old. So for 36 years, I've known him, and he's always been, that special person in my life.
He's also a Hall of Famer over at Hudson.
Brad is a Hall of Famer at Hudson. I was there when he was inducted to the Hall of Fame at Hudson Catholic for football. Number 8, he was a linebacker. He played everything over there. Yeah, he was a legend. He definitely was with Hudson Catholic.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, he pretty much did everything. I mean, not only football, he did track, he played basketball. He pretty much did everything possible you could think of. You know, uh, I mean, as far as that sports wise, I mean, Hudson Catholic was everything to him. So him becoming an assistant coach to these kids, was a big ordeal for him.
And how did he impact the legacy of Hudson Catholic?
Ooh, these boys, since he passed, I've gotten to speak to a lot of the kids, and they they had nothing but good things to say to him, about him, and you know, he was their mentor. Um, he was their friend, he guided them in not only just sports wise, with life in general. He was just like their backbone. Um, he was great. It was all he did. It was all he talked about. We had a daughter together, and he put a lot of his time with these boys, because he not only coached Hudson Catholic, he also ran the Knights Elite program in Jersey City as well. So football was his life. On top of working a whole career, he dedicated a lot of his time to to Hudson Catholic and to the Knights Elite as well.
And when he talked to you about his job, about coaching all these kids, what were those conversations like? How did he talk about it?
Um, it was his passion. He would come home and he would be, on the computer, looking at all the media, all the plays, going over all the tapes, running back everything. Talked about the kids, each and every one of them, and how great they were and how good they were going to be. Um, and how much he wanted to do for the program. He was very, very passionate about it, and he wanted nothing more, but the best for these kids, for all of them. And once he passed, like I said, I spoke to a lot of the boys, and they touched my heart. They really did. They had nothing but good things to say about him, and he was a legend there. He really was. He really was.
What would you say his relationship was like with the rest of the coaching staff over on the football team?
Oh, they were his best friends. That was his life. He was always, everything was football. Everything was Hudson Catholic. Even outside of football, he was hanging out with the guys. He had a very tight knit with all of them. It was his first year coaching with Lamar, but they hit it off great. And yeah, I mean, Brad was very well known. Everybody knew him. All the kids knew him. And as far as the coaches go, they were very, very close.
And what's one thing you want everybody to know about Coach Brad?
He was just so passionate. He really was. I don't want to cry. Um, he was actually going to leave his career. He was going to go back to school, um, to get the credits he needed to become a part of the Hudson Catholic school, and then be able to coach these kids full time. He was going to give up his career for it. Um, so, I mean, with that being said, there was nothing more that he wanted but to be around them all the time. He was the GOAT, I mean, he was really that guy, and and these kids are, it was very heartbreaking to see what these kids, and like I said, we have a daughter together, and trying, she's also going to Hudson Catholic right now. And she's cheering for the football team. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. He was everything. That was his life. That was pretty much his life.
And lastly, what's one word you'd use to describe Coach Brad?
Hmm. One word. That's hard. Um, he was a legend. He was the GOAT. He definitely was. That's what my daughter told me to say. I asked my daughter, Dad, what do I say about Dad? He said, Mom, Dad was the GOAT. And that's really what he was.